And finally, I got a pair of Q Acoustics speakers that I really wanted to hear. It's the Concept 30s. They were released a few years back and they instantly became objects of desire. Well, to me anyway. Pull them out of the box and they still look like Q Acoustics speakers. They have the same driver configuration, the same rounded cabinet, but everything else is a massive step up in build quality. And they have a price to match as well. An MSRP of $1,200 US. Also included with this package was the Concept 90 center channel. This too is an elevated and elegant looking speaker, and you'll notice it is a different colorway as getting a hold of the center channel was a bit of a last minute request on my part. I just wanted everything to be matchy-match, and I also wanted to enjoy music and movies in my space. And this retails for $1,000 US. I halfway expected to have an idea of what these would sound like. I have a good amount of experience with Q Acoustic speakers, so I kind of thought I knew what to expect with these ones. As always, if you wouldn't mind just liking this video, subscribe to the channel. It'll help me out a ton, help me get more awesome products like this in for review. Much appreciated. In my humble opinion, with this speaker in particular, it is very much about the industrial design and the build quality as it is the sound of this speaker. They've poured a heck of a lot of design thinking and construction thinking into this product. For one, it's got that gel core cabinet, which is essentially a layer of non-setting gel that's sandwiched between two layers of the cabinetry. This is said to mitigate any high-frequency vibrations. It also has a suspension system in the form of a base plate, I think to decouple the speaker from the rest of the cabinet via suspension spheres that isolate it from external vibrations. And then on top of that, the plate inside the cabinet is where the crossover is, and this is said to mitigate any unwanted vibrations from the crossover. The cabinet has P2P point-to-point internal bracing that stiffens the cabinet to minimize lower frequency vibrations. The driver assembly is mounted on the front aluminum baffle for an acoustic seal while also dampening vibrations. The high-frequency driver is hermetically sealed and mechanically isolated from the front baffle to protect against internal resonances from the mid-bass driver. It also includes this really funky-looking stand. It features something called tensegrity, I think, and it can be adjusted a whole bunch of different ways to further decouple this speaker from your room. So essentially, they've made a very decoupled speaker that mitigates any unwanted vibrations in your room, and from the speaker itself, therefore improving the overall performance of the speaker. Now, I don't really have any way of quantifying all of the stuff I just told you other than just simply regurgitating it as I did. Do I audibly hear the difference between this very decoupled speaker and a not very decoupled speaker? I don't really know, but it is one of the unique selling propositions of this speaker, so I told it to you, and I'm going to take Q Acoustics' word for it. All that being said, it's got a 5-inch driver, a 25mm or 0.9-inch tweeter that are made specifically for this speaker. It's got a substantial, fairly heavy, deep cabinet. It's got some funky binding posts on the back. You can choose to bi-wire or bi-amplify the speakers should you want to. I'm not that guy. But this is the speaker series that I really wanted to hear, see, and have in my home for an extended period of time, and I'm so happy that I finally got a chance to do this. The industrial design, in my opinion, is flawless. It is a gorgeous looking speaker. My review sample came in white, and I do like me some white speakers. They also come in black and a gray, which is called silver. It's very akin to a nice finish of a luxury silver or dark gray car, where it's a bit speckled. It's a really beautiful finish, and if I'm to be honest, I think I like the silver finish the most. It's the most complementary to my room, and if I was to invest in a pair of these, it would be the silver colorway that I would go to. But aesthetically, they're drool-worthy. I adore looking at these things. I could sit in silence and just stare at the speakers. That's how much I love them. Fortunately, they do also make sound. The dainty little metal stands that affix to the isolation base on the bottom of these speakers took a bit of noodling on my part to get them attached. The downside, though, is because these speaker stands are so dainty, they don't have any sort of cable management. So if you were to pick up these speakers and these speaker stands, I would probably suggest you get some sort of elegant speaker cabling solution for these. The Concept 90 center channel speaker is a similar proposition. It too is super decoupled. It's a modest size as far as center channel speakers go, but it is fairly heavy, 27 pounds. I set these speakers up where I do just about every other speaker that I get in for review, about 8 feet apart on either side of my media unit and about a foot away from the front wall. The center is sandwiched between the Marantz Cinema 70 and a couple different integrated amplifiers, the EVO 150 from Cambridge Audio and the Marantz Model 50. Where needed, I use the CXN V2 for streaming purposes. The subs used were the SVS 3000 Micro and the Monitor Audio Vestra 10, and for movies I used the SVS Ultra Evolution Nanos on my rear speaker shelf. To me, this is very much a Q Acoustics bookshelf speaker, only it's a little more neutral and a bit more even-handed than a lot of the other ones that I have heard. It's not overly boosted up top, it's not overly thick down low, the mid-range is full and it's got a bunch of detail, but it's not overly forward. I'm fresh off of listening to the Monitor Audio Bronze 50, and that speaker has a lot more sheen on the top end, also on the mids, and there's just a bit more detail, a bit more clarity, and a bit more of a tinge to the sound. I'm also fresh off listening to the SVS Ultra Evolution Nano, and those are very comparable in scale to these. Despite having a slightly smaller driver, they do have a similar dimension and a similar driver complement, although they don't tout any of that decoupling that this speaker does. And then I'm also fresh off of listening to that Sonus Faber Concertino, I'm sure I'm mispronouncing the crap out of that, which also has a similar driver complement, it has a similar cabinet dimension, and to me, to my ears, these sound really similar. I remember sitting and listening to these Concept 30s thinking that this is what I wish the Sonata sounded like. It sounds like a wider, more airy, more refined, and more mature Lumina 2 Amateurs. And the Lumina 2s were great, I could listen to them for hours on end. But the extra refinement and a slightly more laid-back nature of this speaker, and also coupled with the fact that, I can't believe I'm saying this, a better fit and finish than the Sonus Fabers, puts this on par with the Concertinos, which do cost quite a bit more than these speakers do, and that's kind of where these land for me. All of that aside, I did run a whole bunch of music through these speakers, starting off with a track from D-Bridge, one of my current favorites. I've been playing it over and over, at least 3 or 4 times a day. Here's the name. I can't pronounce it. I can't even begin to think of where I would start with the pronunciation of this. But this track, it's super moody, super mellow, really beautiful. It's all the D-Bridge things just chucked into one track. It is my tune of the moment. It sounds wonderful. It sounds really big. It's still electronic music, so it's as big as it can sound. And there's this synth horn that sort of auto-filters up and down and back again, and it is all the feels in my little musical soul. I love this song to death. I do run subwoofers with the Concept 30s because as good as they do sound, for electronic music, I do find they do benefit from the added depth of this. You can, I guess, technically run without a sub if you wanted to. You just have to turn up the volume, because I do find that these perform their best at a moderate to loud volume. When I do turn the volume down, the overall just soundstage and imaging just completely shrinks down, and I don't find it sounds its best at a quieter volume. And this is not just with drum and bass, it's also with like acoustic music. There's that track, again, I'm not going to try to pronounce it, but it's off the Amelie soundtrack. It's all piano, and I only know this song from watching Red Bull's Dance Your Style, and there's a dude breakdancing with his hat to this song, and it was like a weird juxtaposition, but it was beautiful nonetheless, and I was like, hey, what is that song? And I found it, I listened to it, and it's now part of this review, but it's all just piano, and it sounds beautiful, and sounds really nice and big and wide. I'm not overly familiar with the song other than the last month or so when I am playing it. And even when I switched to Bill Withers' Use Me Up, it's the same thing. Its voice sounds bigger, the music sounds better, the separation of instruments sounds better when I have this turned up. And when I did turn up the volume, I did, of course, listen for any sort of cabinet vibrations, and of course, I didn't hear any. I did like using the SVS 3000 Micro with these speakers. That little subwoofer just has that extra bit of kick and oomph that these speakers I didn't expect to ever provide. They are a modest-sized bookshelf speaker, of course. But when I am listening to Bill Withers at a moderate volume, it's really engaging, it's really dynamic, there's lots of really great instrument separation, and the subs really do come in handy when I am playing a little bit more of the usual music that I listen to, like instrumentals, Watching You. I believe it's D-Bridge on the vocals on this one as well. that man just makes great music. But those deep bass hits do need a subwoofer to feel impactful. And then dumping on some ambient music from an artist that I'm completely obsessed with. His name is Thing. He's a prolific producer. His latest is Ambient Works #1. It's a fun little ambient EP. These speakers push out a big, wide, and tall sound. It's ambient, so it is a bit of a cheat, but it's super fun to listen to. And between the amplifiers, I did find that I preferred the Cambridge over the Marantz. The Marantz is just a bit more of a older school, a bit more warmer sounding to me anyway, and I just preferred the pairing with the Evo 150 from Cambridge Audio. And then taking in some movies, I did go through a bit of a low-budget sci-fi binge as of late, and there's two movies. There's Vast of Night, and then there's Cosmos. Cosmos is essentially three guys in a station wagon looking for signals in space or tracking a satellite, and they accidentally make contact. I don't know why I like it so much, but I've watched it a couple times, and it's all just dialogue. There's not much to be said about surround effects at all, but watching this movie, I was just completely immersed by the subject matter itself, and the Center Channel just did a great job of just taking a dialogue-heavy movie and just making me feel like I heard everything very clearly. And it was sort of ditto for Vast of Night. It's another alien movie. It's set in the 50s, and what sound effects that it does have in surround, it did feel somewhat immersive. But again, it's that dialogue that really drove this movie forward, and the Center Channel just did a wonderful job of conveying that to me. And then throughout the course of doing reviews, I'm normally plopped down on my couch doing a bit of work just to get away from my desk, because in this office there are no windows and I miss looking at the sun, especially when I'm bogged down for hours in front of my laptop. And so when I am working on mundane tasks, I'm watching podcasts or something on my TV. This setup, while being complete overkill for watching podcasts or content on YouTube, it does a really great job of not being fatiguing over the long haul. And I'm sat on my couch for longer than you probably should. Like, sitting is the new smoking, and I sit for way too long, and I used to smoke, so. But then switching to something that is purposely immersive, Gravity. I love that movie, even though it's scientifically inaccurate, apparently, according to Neil deGrasse Tyson. They are fully immersive, and I'm able to hear all the dialogue audibly. But when things do scale down and it's just dialogue and Clooney talking to her in space somehow, it's really clear, really audible, and I don't get any sort of fatigue. And I guess if I was to sell the Center Channel to you, it is the fact that it is non-fatiguing. It is a modest-sized Center Channel, so dialogue, when it needs to be, does sound big and full. And in comparison to that 5090 Ci Center Channel that I got from the 5000 series, I don't find this one to be as directional and as forward as that one does. I'm not sure. I mean, the driver configuration and the overall cabinet size is different, but it does feel like a better overall Center Channel than the 5000 series one. So, yeah, it's good. And now, after finally hearing the Q Acoustics Concept 30 bookshelf speaker, a speaker that I've completely lusted for over the last few years, it was totally worth the wait. I love the way it looks. I love the way it sounds. I love all the thoughtful touches that Q Acoustics and their team put into the industrial design of this speaker. I think it's wonderful, and it's an easy recommendation from me to you. But then for me, selfishly, I can easily see this speaker living over there behind me where the ELAC Unify reference is living as perfect speakers for my DJ stand, where it's going to be subject to unwanted resonances and vibrations just from me mucking around on the turntables themselves. And now I kind of want to own this speaker. I was all set on the Silver 100s from Monterey Audio, but now these are kind of on that same level, along with the Bucart P300s. Man, there are just so many great speakers out there. We are sort of spoiled for choice, and I think I just need to make more money because I want to own all of the speakers now. Thanks for watching.